welcome to our March edition of Sports Highlights, start of spring. Glad you're with us right here. Our program since February of '92. And of course, our show comes on Mondays at 7 a.m., 2 p.m., 7 p.m., weekends at 9 a.m. on Cox Cable 47, 517, and NNPSTV.com, all over social media. It's a pleasure to start off with David Porter. He's the head football coach at Bethel High School. David, this will be your third year this fall.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about it. Talk about your football tree. How did it all get started?
So I moved up here in 2001, got a teaching job, played football at Fayetteville State in North Carolina. Started at Denby High School. I was there from 01 to 04. Took a gap. I had custody of my son, so I had to adjust to him starting school. Took a couple years off. Got at Bethel with Coach Nelson. I was there from 08 to 13. I left from there, went to Heritage High School. I was there 14-15 season. From there, I was at the Prentice School from 16 through 20. And my last year in college, I was at Misericordia University in Pennsylvania with Coach John Davis. And from there, I came back to Bethel.
So you did some traveling in between.
Did some traveling.
Absolutely. Let's talk about some of your teams as an assistant. Any certain seasons stood out for you?
The 2008 season with Rio Walker and all those guys at Bethel. We had a pretty good season that year, made a nice run. Coaching Ricky Walker, his sophomore year of 2010 was probably the greatest defensive sophomore year of anybody, young guy ever, that I've ever been around. Heritage, we had a good run there with Coach Massenberg. We went to third round of the playoffs, lost to Monacan. I still haven't watched that film all those years later, but those years were really good.
Why haven't you watched it?
I can't.
You can't. Even today, you can't watch it.
I can't.
All right, there you go. The coach of Bethel is David Porter. Now, folks, you've heard me talk about Bethel a lot over the years. We've televised several of their games over the years. Not a lot, but we've televised several of their games that, and of course, my mother taught there from 76 to 91, that in 74, Coach Cos was in his first year, won a state championship. 2 years later, he won again. And then, of course, he circled back with Allen Iverson's team in 1992. They've got a rich history there.
Big, deep tradition. It's a lot. We're trying to get the kids to understand that. Try to extend olive branches to some of the alumni, come back, speak to the kids, because for our kids today, those guys are ghosts. Like, it's not, if the kids don't get to see it now, they don't know. If it's not on YouTube, if they can't look it up on YouTube, it doesn't exist for them.
And a lot of good things are, too. A lot of the Hampton Schools games are on YouTube because they don't do them now, so that's the only way they can see them from the past. It's really fun to watch because you can put it up on the big screen and watch the old games, but we're all about the present and the future here. So your team did make the postseason in 23. What are your expectations for the upcoming season?
Our big thing now is your best is the standard. So we need everybody's absolute best. We're looking forward to moving forward. We lose some guys. We lose some production this year with Victor Romaine, who's two-time All-State at kick return and wide receiver. We lose him. We lose Avion Pryor on defense. But offensively, we have his brother returning, who's a running back. He was second leading rusher in the district behind the guy over at Phoebus. We have a freshman starter, Derek Fish, who played both ways. He's of the Vic bloodline. He'll be back. So we're in pretty good shape. The offensive line is back. We'll be okay.
Yeah, and of course you talk about the culture too. It starts off with you, then it goes to the assistant coaches, the staff, the school, academics, athletics, activities, and of course the players. A lot of times back in the day, Mike Smith and Coach Cos would always have their best ninth graders playing varsity because why waste a year? That's 4 years. That's a lot. They got the JV their eighth grade year. Right. But what are your thoughts on freshmen playing varsity?
My big thing whenever I came in was I want the eighth and ninth graders on JV unless they're outstanding. Mm-hmm. Ninth to 10th graders who are the higher mortality kids should be up. They should be up, and I'm going to play them. I played best 11. Right. Ninth grader through 12th grade, I'm going to play the best 11.
Obviously, as a head coach, you got to delegate, and you coach both sides of the football. You are all inclusive, offense, defense, special teams. There's no down off for you because every play can determine the determination of the game.
Correct. I called the offense. Defensively, I have a really good defensive coordinator, Lawrence Burton. He was there with us back with Coach Nelson. He was defensive coordinator back then. Mm-hmm. So I can kind of tend more to the offense, but I still have my eyes on the field on what's going on. Mm-hmm. I may say something in the mic but I try to stay out of the way because he's pretty good at what he does.
Right.
Special teams, I have a coordinator there, Elliot McGowan, but we also delegate there. So we may have a guy who takes kickoff. We may have a guy who takes kickoff return, who takes punt, to kind of split the duties up.
Yeah, I always told a lot of the coaches that some of your best kickers and punters are playing on the soccer team right now. That take advantage, go to a soccer game in the spring, and you can find one or two players, a kicker and a punter, that can determine whether you win a game or not in the fall.
Absolutely. Harrison Albia, who was our kicker and punter, is a soccer kid. So, absolutely. And I'm looking for my next one for next year.
So you'll be going there in the spring, right there to the practice field.
I'll be at the game.
Yeah, that's exactly what you do. And of course, Coach goes to the basketball games too. And of course, it's important that these kids see a role model like you when they're 16, 17, 18 years old. They might not have a parent at home. They only have a guardian. And when they see you go to their games, even though you're not coaching another sport, it's important.
Absolutely. It's good for the school culture for them to see, hey, the football staff is at the game. We make it a point to get to the track meets, to get to the baseball games, softball games, soccer. I don't think we missed a basketball game in 2 years. My JV head coaches plays the music at the varsity game. So we're running concessions. We're always doing something. And like you said, with the kids, they need to see positively somebody that supports them, and that's what we try to do.
Right, because there's so much outside noise. So they can keep that noise to a minimum during the season. That's even better.
Right.
You said something interesting off the air that on the varsity basketball team, not one football player.
We don't have a football player. Last year we had one. We do not have one currently, which is it's a little different because everybody thinks back in the day, Iverson, 2 sports, Curry, 2 sports. Kids, they have things they can do now. A lot of kids are into gaming and other stuff. So I may have this one sport that I really like, and I'm okay with this one, but I'm gonna go play Fortnite or whatever with my friends.
And when you and I grew up, there was no phone. I mean, it was all about playing, tackle football out in the field or one-on-one basketball or whatever without no net on the, whatever. So I guess the phone can be a distraction. Then you've got to coach against the phone too.
Right, and we kind of try to tune our coaching toward that because the kids are on TikTok, 15-second videos. So what we need to show them needs to be in short bursts.
Yeah.
It ties into what they know.
Bethel, the home of the Bruins, green, gold, and white. Of course, one of our first years of doing football was 91, but 92 we did. I remember the game like it was yesterday, Bethel and Warwick, when Iverson played. And of course, Iverson has a basketball tournament. And of course, that's important that the kids do see these former great alumni, and you want them to be around as well.
Absolutely. We retired Iverson's football jersey. My first game, my first year. He's back. Reebok does a lot with us, with the kids. The year before I got there, they paid for every senior's college application. We got travel bags from Reebok. Of course, they take care of basketball with the shoes and game jerseys and things like that. So he does a lot. His name does a lot in the area for us.
And that's important for the kids to understand is that as you get older, your contacts become stronger, and that benefits you. It's not just about today, about the football. I remember the late John Thompson would have a flat basketball and would tell the kids, what are we going to do after basketball's done? It's called the game of life, and that's what you're teaching them. Right,
that's the goal. And one of the things that stuck with me, Bobby Wilder, when he was the coach at ODU, he sold 363. It's like 363. Those are the days outside of the 11 games that you have. What are you going to do with yourself and with your life outside of that? And I tell the kids all the time, at some point, the lights go out and people don't cheer for you anymore. So our big drive is college, workforce, military. It's our responsibility to find something for the kids.
Instead of being idle.
Correct.
And the summertime's tough because a lot of kids are idle, but they can have summer school and they can have conditioning when you try to keep them not from being idle.
I have them from 4 to 8 every day. I tell their parents, drop them off, go to happy hour. When the drinks go back to regular price, come pick them up.
Yeah, is that when you practice?
Yes.
You practice in the afternoon during the summer?
Afternoon.
And that's what you're going to do again this summer?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Now, after school, it's different in the fall.
Correct.
Well, let's talk about this past season. You made the postseason. What went right, in your opinion? What went wrong? And do you go back and review each game after the season?
I do. I've probably looked at the season numerous times. I think we grew. We took some steps in establishing the culture that we want My big thing when I got there was getting the kids to do the right thing in the hallways. Football to come. I need you in class. I need you in class on time. I need you making sure you're taking care of school. From there, we go to the weight room. Now we got to learn how to function in the weight room. When I first got there, it was like Pee Wee's Playhouse. I'm like, hey, you don't push, shove, run around in the weight room. I was teaching that stuff. From there, now it's football. At the late start that we got, I would tell the kids often we're 3 months behind, and we looked 3 months behind. And toward the end of the season that first year, things started to click and look like football. So year 2 was, okay, let's get going with the weight room. Kids already knew what we expected in the weight room. They knew we expected them to go to class. We knew they expected them to do the work. They know I check grades every Wednesday, and that determines your Friday. So once they figured out what we were doing, they jumped in. I still take every loss personal. So I have to be better for the kids. The staff has to be better for the kids. We took a step back in certain facets of the game. I think we took a step back special teams this year. Last year we was exceptional on special teams. This year, not so much. That's on me. I got to be more involved in special teams. Defensively, we struggled a little bit getting off the field on third down. Even though I have a defensive coordinator, that's on me. I'm the head coach. I tell the guys all the time, fish right at the head. So I'm the head, so it's on me. Offensively, we got to get it better, extending drives, getting first downs when we need them.
I love it. I mean, of course, you delegate as the game goes on. You improvise. That's what halftime is for. But, if you don't like a defensive scheme and you want to do a 5-3, 4-4, whatever, you have every right to change it.
Correct.
And will you change it if you have to?
I absolutely will.
Mm-hmm.
And Coach Burton, who's my defense coordinator, again, he'll come to me or he'll get on the headset and say, hey, what you think? Do we need to switch? Are we good? What do you see? What's going on? So we communicate. We work well together.
Right, because I think you can still see more on the ground where you're at than you can up there because let's say the person's vision's not that good, then they're really in trouble.
Right.
But games are constantly changing. You mentioned special teams. I don't see a whole lot of onside kicks. I think people start winning games now in the winter and the spring and the summer before the first game you're even going to play against.
Absolutely.
It's the habits.
Absolutely. And football has turned into year-round.
Yeah.
You have weight room, you have 7-on-7, you have the team camps, you have the padded camps, so you have to be involved in every facet of that stuff or you're falling behind.
Now, one thing, too, back in the day, you only see 1 or 2 teams playing. I remember in '84, Bethel played Hampton twice. They beat them during the non-conference season. Bethel did. Hampton beat them, during the regular season because that's when they played. They played 10 games, but one game was that one specific year. They played them out of conference. What are your thoughts about all these different teams, even with losing records, making these diluted postseasons, even Hampton? And I love Woodrow Wilson. In 22, his team had a losing record, and he still made the playoffs. And some teams even have less than 3 wins.
Right. I think that shift happened because of some schools out west not getting shots. So I think it's bad when you end up with an 0-10 team in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think it's bad when you end up 2-8 in the playoffs. I know our first year we struggled. I didn't want to take the guys to the playoffs. I wouldn't have wanted to go. I would have declined and been glad to pay the forfeit fee. Mm-hmm. I think it turns into the participation award at some point.
Right, because there's some pride when you tell the kids to do the best you can. Just like in school, you don't graduate if you make Fs. You graduate if you make A's, B's, and C's. Correct. And then do the best you can. But life is not about mediocrity.
At all, not at all. And I can remember when I first got here, 10-0, 9-1. 8-2 went to the playoffs. 7-3 was at home.
Yeah.
So I can remember those days.
I remember one year in late '90s that Heritage did not make it, and they went 9-1. So it's really gotten watered down. Now, who are you going to play for your non-conference game this fall?
Non-conference, we have Nansemond River again. Mm-hmm. We have them at home. We open up end of August. August 30th, I think, is our game date for this year. I know the VHSL shifted everything back a week. So I think we'll be the 30th this year.
You and I joke around about the uniforms, but who does decide the uniforms and who picks out the uniforms?
It's on the coaches. Mm-hmm. The coaches pick it. With the way kids are, the uniform means a lot. So, we try to get their input. We get a little committee of seniors and say, hey, what y'all think? Mm-hmm. And we let them come up with that type of stuff.
Now, look, you're the judge, and you can override anything.
Absolutely.
Very good. All the best, Coach, during the off season.
Yes, sir.
We look forward to your 24 Bethel season.
Thank you.
All the best. He's coached in Newport News. He's coached in Hampton. He's coached at the college level. And, of course, he's from North Carolina, the best basketball state ever. I'm sorry, Virginia. You can't compare to North Carolina. All right. I want to thank our first guest, David Porter. Stay tuned for Jonathan Howard from CNU after this.
You're watching NNPS TV. Catch sports highlights on Mondays at 7, 2, and 7, and on Saturdays and Sundays at 9 a.m. Visit us online at nnpstv.com to view all your favorite episodes. NNPS TV, watching education happen.
Music and fine arts provide enriching experiences. They teach students that there can be more than one solution to a problem, more than one right answer, that mistakes are learning experiences, and present an opportunity to be creative and flexible. The arts encourage persistence and dedication. They require sustained concentration, personal reflection involving critical analysis, and self-adjustment to reach desired goals. These are essential 21st century skills. Skills recognized as important to productive career and citizen success. Each student deserves and benefits from an arts-rich education.
And welcome back to our second segment of our March Madness show right here, talking to Jonathan Howard, the head women's golf coach at CNU. Jonathan, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Talk about your golf background. You've been an assistant coach with the men's team, and now you're in your second year with the women's team.
Yeah, I actually was lucky enough to play at CNU from 2010 to 14 under Jamie Coleman, who's the men's coach now. Lucky enough to get a job as the men's head coach out at University of Lynchburg. It was Lynchburg College then. For 2 years, and then was lucky enough to make my way back home to CNU when we started the women's program in 2017. Was the assistant coach for 4 years with Jamie, overseeing both men and women, and then this is my second full year as the women's head coach.
Right. And of course, whether it's men or women, there's always strategy involved. Mm-hmm. And of course, how do you get to select the players? And of course, recruiting is also important. Yeah,
recruiting's awesome. That's probably one of my favorite parts of the job, being able to travel and meet new people and just kind of hear life stories and learn from them as well. And then for team as well, choosing our travel team, we've kind of gone to a system of not just straight qualifying where we have certain days that we kind of look at and do those types of things. It's kind of over a few day period that I'm looking at trends, kind of seeing, because we need the best 5 who are playing that week. And golf is just kind of like every sport. Like each week's going to be something different, so I got to have the best 5 in the van.
That's right. Of course, you got 9 players on the team.
Yes, sir.
And of course, we're talking to Jonathan Howard. He's the head women's golf coach at CNU, the captains. Talk about the conference you're in and also some of the opponents.
Yeah, so right now we're in the C2C. Part of the ongoing discussions I'm having with our AD and department are right now golf on either side is not sponsored by the C2C, so that is part of our struggle right now, but it's actually given us the opportunity to be able to travel a lot more as well. So that's been a blessing and a curse, but that's definitely high on our priority list to kind of get that because it would definitely open a gateway into the national championship, having an automatic qualifier for a conference championship. So that's definitely a unique thing that we have.
And a lot of the high schools do have golf teams. I'm sure that makes it a lot easier.
Oh, yeah.
But there are some players that have been playing golf their entire life that by the time they get to high school, they're almost like pros.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of, you find those, the ones that are kind of polished off and definitely at their peak. You find a lot of those go D1 or D2. Kind of our niche for D3, at least at CNU, are kind of diamonds in the rough. Definitely for people who can grow and develop and have that drive still. Not that the other ones don't, but I think it's really fun to be around those that still want to continue to grow.
Well, let's talk about your golf coaching staff.
Mm-hmm. Just me.
And no assistant.
No assistant. Jamie's got the men, so I'll travel with him a few times just because I love being with the guys, being an alumni.
Do you feed off each other's energy, you and the boys coach, kind of like do strategy, that type of stuff?
Oh, yeah. We're definitely talking week in and week out. from interactions he has with other coaches and other programs, and the same with me on the women's side. It's continual learning. That's how kind of every sport is, but golf really is as well. Some new swing coach will come out with an idea, and that kind of gets bounced around the coaching ranks, and then different strategies and stuff. So it's really fun to learn.
Now you say it's just you, but you have an athletic department to support you. I mean,
yes, not just me in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Kyle McMullen and his wonderful staff. We've had him on the show before, but it does take a village of support because CNU's got a strict academic regimen as well.
Yes, very much. The department has been super helpful since we've started the women's program. We've had huge support from outside, but inside, all of our business ladies over there in the athletic department, as well as fundraising and advancement, they've been a huge help, especially with getting our indoor facility off the ground, which is definitely at a better spot. We've been there just over a year and made leaps and bounds that wouldn't be possible without Kyle and some of the other ladies.
You practice at the James River Country Club, which is very close by.
Oh, yeah.
You talk about convenience. So how is it over there?
Oh, it's amazing. They've been super helpful. A large portion of the membership are CNU alumni, so they've just been welcoming with open arms. And the head pro, Ryan Smith, as well as the assistant, Mike, have been super helpful, and the whole staff there, just making sure both the men and women feel welcome and they can use the facilities and don't feel like they're a nuisance or anything. They've been super awesome.
You guys have a lot of meetings with the other coaches at CNU, with Kyle, and how does that work where all the department heads or coaches get together?
Yeah, so we have monthly staff meetings. We discuss different things, different issues, different topics. Like we'll have one next week and we'll discuss Kyle and the admin just got back from Phoenix from the NCAA convention where a lot of things get brought up, voted on, and passed. So he'll give us a lowdown of what happened there, and that'll usually affect the athletics in general, not just specific sports. So I'm intrigued to see what comes back from that.
We're talking about golf here. We're in the spring talking to Jonathan Howard, the head women's golf coach at CNU, the captains, and Williamsburg is big in golf.
Oh, huge.
I grew up working and going to the men's tournament, the PGA,
Yep.
Kingsmill, and the women's tournament.
Oh,
All right.
yeah.
Really sad that here we are. This will be the third year in a row without a professional golf tournament.
Yeah.
You live there. What is the vibe? What are you hearing?
Yeah, definitely people in the area are really bummed that it kind of died out. LPGA wanted to continue growing it. Just I think the quality of Kingsmill at the time. They've got a new superintendent. Course is looking beautiful. We're actually considering hosting something out there in the next few years. And just the whole resort is just a unique opportunity. I think would be awesome for maybe, if not LPGA, maybe a Corn Ferry, like a sub PGA Tour event. PGA Tour it needs a bigger venue. But I think there's definitely opportunities in that sense that we can get some big tournaments out there. I think that would be great.
And I've been to a U.S. Open, but I got to tell you, that river course is unbelievable still. It's still breathtaking on the James River.
Yeah, right there. You finish up 16 green, you can start to see it. 17's one really tough par 3 if it's windy or any type, getting that gust right off the James. And then kind of teeing off with the river at your back, finishing up on 18's beautiful finish.
How do you do there when you play there?
I hold my own, but yeah, I get a little nerve-wracked when I come down that 3-hole stretch there.
You feel like you're a pro all of a sudden.
Exactly, yeah, feeling that out. I was lucky to actually coach or caddy for a young lady. The last year they had it there, she was trying to Monday qualify, so they had the stands up and everything. It was a cool experience being able to be there doing that.
Right. What are your thoughts too? I mean, there's a lot of golf players that played injured over the years. Mm-hmm. And of course, I know Jack and the old school golfers, oh God, no, we can't, we got to walk.
Oh, yeah.
No golf carts. I mean,
yeah.
But some of those courses and some of the older players and some of the seniors still play the regular PGA Tour events.
Oh, yeah.
That's difficult. Will that ever change?
No. It'll be a large portion of the time. You don't see, they've got the Champions Tour now. You don't see a lot of them playing on regular PGA Tour events. A lot of them are the majors that they've been exempt into that Augusta, not many people are really going to pass it up, like Bernhard Langer, a German international that's a Masters champion, said this is his last year because once you win your lifetime exemption in, like it's hard to pass up that opportunity to be able to play that every year.
Let's talk about some of the basic terms for the novices out there. Sure. You know, par, you know, wood, you know, rough, you know, the sand. Give us some of the basics.
Yeah, scoring wise, it sounds weird. Par is like on par, and then in life, below par is bad, but in golf it's good. Mm-hmm. So that's the fun part. Being in the red in any other time in life is bad, but in golf it's good. And you've got fairway and rough, talking about different types of areas of the course with the rough and fairway, bunkers, being in the trees, hazards. Well, now we're calling it penalty area. We changed it up a couple years ago. But yeah, those are all, there's so many different terms, and the wild part about golf is they've got a huge rule book, and once you dive down into it, there's actually only 13 rules of golf, which many people may not know.
I tell you, it must be nerve-wracking for these pros, especially at majors, when they're hitting into the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
And the crowds have had a few beverages.
Yes.
And they're making it very difficult for, let's say, Tiger Woods or whoever.
Oh, yeah.
Or, what are your thoughts too in the PGA and the Live Tour?
Yeah, no, that's we could go on for a long time about that. The betterment of golf is all that I really care for, and I think not really in support of the PGA, but also not really on the side of the PGA Tour of really limiting their possibilities. I think a partnership will come down the pipeline here in the next few months, if not year. So I'm just excited for the opportunities of golf and growing it.
But it seems like a deterrent. It seems like there's some type of division even now because it started off so awkwardly.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's definitely been tough on the world of golf, but it's created, I think, a discussion that needs to happen of growing the game of golf and kind of coming out of the Stone Age and not being in that same mode that they've been in for the past decades. And
do you watch the Golf Channel a lot?
not as much as I should, but
Okay.
a little bit.
Well, there you go. All right, well, your second season as the head women's golf coach at CNU. Jonathan Howard, all the best to you and the captains.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Very good. All right, folks, that wraps up our March Madness show right here. Great guests today, two excellent guests in David Porter, the head football coach at Bethel High School, and Jonathan Howard in his second year as a head women's golf coach at CNU, which is not far from the Telecom Center. Wonderful crew as always for our spring show, and of course, led by Red Price and his great staff. I'm Greg Picaveras. We'll talk to you soon.